What's up, 50 folders, and welcome to episode 24 of the Ask Alex podcast with me, Alexander Jarvis.
Ask Alex. Ask Alex. Because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Today we've got a question from Sana in Helsinki who asks, should you watermark your pitch deck when sending your presentation to investors? Okay, relatively specific topic, but hey, there's no dumb questions. So, why don't we start out with 3 lies and a truth, and you get to guess which one's true, or possibly true. First off, your idea is unique. You think it's special. Secondly, execution is not as important as your idea. 3, you don't want to send your deck to investors only for them to send it to a competitor. You share great ideas, and they then tell a competitor that they actually invest in and then pass on you. Of course, if you pick number 4, you are smart to be cautious, but not overly. 1 and 2 are a joke. Your idea, come on, it's not unique and it's not special. 3 makes sense prima facie, but it's fallacious, and I'll explain why in the next session. Ultimately, all that matters is your execution. It's the only real thing that is going to make your startup the monster that venture capitalists want and need it to be to invest in you. You want to be in a place where you can post your plan on the internet and your competitors still can't beat you. But let's be clear. VCs are not in the game of copying your idea themselves. They invest, but they look at lots of sectors, and they likely want to be putting a bet in a space that could be yours. And like the chances are, whilst you pitch 100 investors, 99 are going to pass, and one of them was going to invest in your competitor, right? It kind of makes sense. That's logical, especially if you're playing in a hot space. So why should you watermark your pitch deck? Well, okay, let's not waste time here. There really aren't compelling reasons. The strongest thesis is that it will prevent investors sending your deck to a competitor, which was point 3. Okay, but no. Look, if your investor is a bit shady and shares information from all the thousands of founders that pitch them every year, then, well, 1, they aren't going to be that concerned about getting caught, which means they're probably not going to be around long. So why are you pitching these guys that aren't well known? Why are you doing that? I mean, is a watermark really going to stop them? The investor has a relationship with the type of founder that they invest in. Is this founder going to pass it on again? Maybe. And finally, 3, how the hell are you ever going to find out? What, your competitor's going to email you and laugh and say, ha, 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 my investor just sent me your deck. I mean, come on. Are they going to post it on SlideShare? No, come on, that's not going to happen. But, you never know. So basically, if you send your deck to an investor who will share it, you will never actually know in the first place. It's like a bear shitting in the woods. Like, are you in the woods much? Are you a lumberjack? No. Me neither. So even if the investor doesn't share your actual pitch deck with the pretty little watermark, they can show it to other people. And more importantly, they can share the actual good ideas. So why should you not watermark your pitch deck? Well, frankly, because you're a dumbass. And I don't mean that personally. Everyone does dumb shit when they're tired and they're working hard. And look, fundraising is so boring, and you're pitching like 100 investors. You are going to mess up one email. You will send the wrong attachment. And if you watermark your pitch deck, there's going to be consequences. That attachment may be watermarked for another investor. #fail. So I've done this twice when I was younger. Firstly, in university, I was applying to JP Morgan, and I said, "Dear Morgan Stanley, I want to work for you," which fuck my life. I was applying to Morgan Stanley just before. So guess what? Not a positive response. And secondly, I did this to a potential acquirer doing M&A deal on the sell side. And just in the email heading, I forgot to change the name of the addressee. So it was like potential sale of whatever company I was selling to the wrong person. And it was so bad. So the CEO immediately responded, and I was doing this on my managing director's email, by the way. So it looked like he sent it and said, "Oh, Kevin, it's great to know that X is potentially in the process too." And the fucking email threads kept on going back with that fucking headline every time. And so after that, I'm freaking paranoid about email now. Now, you probably haven't fecked up enough to relate to that shame, so you will at some point. I mean, it's gonna happen, but you've got to learn your own lessons. Okay, sure, there are other reasons, like it makes your deck ugly. It takes time to watermark in Acrobat, which I presume you're using, and you need to do it like 100 times. I mean, FML, so boring. And you're going to forget to do it occasionally. So what's the point if you're not doing it perfectly? Now, investors don't need your deck to share ideas. Think TED, ideas worth spreading. They can show the deck and not send it. And your deck is probably boring and uninformative anyway. If a competitor gets your deck, then they're probably just aware of you. And frankly, shouldn't you be more concerned that they haven't heard of you yet? No, okay, look, there are few, but very few cases where I believe stealth actually makes sense, but there's just not many reasons why. And frankly, the only generic one is that you haven't quit your job yet, but somehow you're still fundraising and you don't want your boss to know. And that's probably the strongest one, but no one's going to fund you if you haven't quit your job yet. Okay. The real good one is that you're doing something really cool that's sort of obvious, but no one else has figured it out, and you want all the opportunity to suck up the market. That makes sense, but it doesn't apply to many people. Another point, do not send a book to investors. You can send a teaser. You can send like a cheeky 10-page deck with like lots of pretty images, so long as it actually gets your point across and generates interest. You don't need to share everything about your startup. So as David Cowan from Bessemer Venture Partners writes, nothing slows down a VC as much as a comprehensive business plan. So it's actually against your interest to share too much. And if you get to the point that you're oversharing, you've already shared too much already, at least for the early stages. So ultimately, just choose who you want to marry. You're figuratively marrying your investor because you can't divorce them, nor can you kill them, at least in most countries. So if you're concerned about watermarking, why are you even spending a minute emailing them? I mean, stick to the guys that you want and you should trust. Ultimately, this is the same question about asking investors to sign your NDA. Though the noob alarm doesn't go ring, 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 ring as much as it would, with this question. And I've got a great tome that you can read about this. I'll put a show note link to it in the blog. So what should you actually watermark? Meaning like not share. Well, what you are really worried about is sharing your great tactics, insights, strategies, joint venture partners, names that are willing to sign up, like your special sauce. I mean, that's actually what you don't want your competitors to know, right? So there is a much simpler, smarter thing to do. Don't share your special sauce. Don't share your amazeballs ideas until, at least you have a term sheet and you're comfortable with the investor. You can escalate the commitment with them and what you're willing to share. I think that's pretty reasonable. And, your investor's not going to think you're a dumbass for not wanting to share everything about them when all they've bought you is maybe a coffee. So you must have enough compelling things to chat about: the team, the market size, your revenue model, etc., to get investors interested to the point where you're get to a third meeting, right? So if you don't, trust me, your special sauce is not enough to get you across that line. So here are 2 articles, which I'll give to you in the show notes on the most important factors. And one is the team and the real reason why you don't get funded. The second is the market sizing, and the real reason you won't get past a second meeting. All right, there are, of course, a number of other factors on why you shouldn't watermark your pitch deck, but those are kind of the pretty key ones. So what you want to do is watermark your ideas. Now, I just made that up. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but if it does, you can quote me. It's cool. So don't share your ideas. Venture Hacks, which, back in the day, those guys wrote the most amazing blog. They wrote, a deck can help you get a meeting, but it can also get in the hands of the competition. So whether you send a deck depends on who wants the meeting the most. If you want the meeting more than they do, provide what they want. If they want the meeting more than you do, provide what you want. Finally, keep your secrets secret. Now, the last question, which I think founders might have, is, will investors be offended? No. I mean, from my point of view, your deck just looks a little bit more ugly and harder to read, so frankly, it's up to you. But this is not such a common thing, which is a point of contention. No one really gives a shit, but it's just, do you want to spend the time dealing with this thing? And frankly, just no. Now, if you've got any questions, feel free to hit me up. If you would love to be featured in the Ask Alex podcast, reach out to me at alexanderjarvis.com/Ask Alex, and I'd be happy to answer your question. And I'll answer every single one of them. Gary V has taught me well. Now, does your pitch deck suck? Would you like to take the load off your back for just one key critical thing? If it does, then reach out to the guys at perfectpitchdeck.com, and they will offer you clear, transparent pricing and a professional service to make your deck looking amazing. So thank you so much for spending time with me, guys. I really appreciate it. Ciao.